Okay, welcome. Okay, so I'm sure that all of us understand that the future of our industry is not going to look like the past, right? So we want to look at how do we listen to the future that will emerge, and it's not like a one-time phenomena. It every time a new future is emerging. So how do we develop the competencies to listen to the future that will emerge? And we want to have a conversation around that. Okay, so I'm going to build this whole session around a couple of points, to say around 8 points, and we build the whole conversation around that. And we'll introduce those 8 points, and then we will go deeper into it again as we go ahead in the conversation. So as this technology theory U was created by Dr. Otto Scharmer from MIT, and they have done research for around 3 decades and worked with many organizations, including, of course, Google and Alibaba and World Bank and many, many more, and also government organizations like the Scottish government, healthcare networks, and the social impact conversations like Ashoka Foundation and many, many more. This course in various forms has reached more than 2-3 lakh people, 300,000 people. And there are around 300 teams like us who are taking this technology all over the world, some in the not-for-profit area, some in the government area, some in the corporate education area, and we are focusing on taking it into the corporate and the individual game. So the first principle that I want to start with is learning, and learning from the past versus learning from the future that emerges. So most of our life, if you look at, has been about learning from the past and learning on reflecting on the past, which is of course important. There is no question about it. Nobody can question that. But given that the future is going to be not similar to the past, if our focus is on the past alone, that won't be enough. We're going to need a new way of learning, and which is what we call as learning from the future that wants to emerge, or learning from the emerging future. And we're going to look at that. And let me go a little deeper into it instantly. What competencies would we need different? Right? So when it's learning from the past versus learning from the future that's emerging, what competencies do you think we're going to need, which are like different competencies than what we are accustomed to? So let's have some people share. You can unmute and speak up, or if you want to write in the chat, you can do that. Both are welcome. What are the new competencies we are going to need to learn from this emerging future?
Watching trends and learning from them.
Watching trends and learning from them. Perfect. Thank you.
Sensing.
Sensing. Okay. Nayantara, welcome. Somebody else, what new competencies do you think we'll need?
I think making our presence felt in the virtual world. Now, education industry and
making your presence felt is, yeah, making your presence felt is one thing, but that's more from, I think that's more from the business side of it. But I'm saying from the perspective of learning what is the future emerging and listening to the future that is emerging, right? What do you think we will need to develop?
Manoj, Avni here.
So one
Yeah.
thing which I foresee is a lot of application-based concepts, like not just pure science, but application of it, and especially into an interdisciplinary domain.
Okay, so one, very good. So one is the application orientation and the interdisciplinary aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. Somebody else.
Agility.
Let's have agility. Okay.
Ravi here. In the new
Yeah,
world
Ravi,
that
go
is
ahead.
emerging, I think we need to
Right.
be, first of all, flexible. We can't get stuck with our
Flexible.
already existing. Yeah, so that's one.
Very good.
We need to adapt and adopt to the new technologies and the new ways of being right now.
Okay, very good. Okay, so fantastic. Okay, so let me share one or two slides with you. Here.
Manoj, systems
Yes, go
thinking,
ahead.
systems thinking,
Systems
seeing
thinking.
connections.
Yes, very. Seeing connections, very good. Yes, you don't need to raise hand. You can just speak up. Okay.
Well, shifting from the fixed mindset to growth mindset, non-judgmental listening, and then unlearning and learning.
Okay, very good.
Sandeep
By the way,
here.
are you guys able to see my screen here or no?
Not yet.
No. No, Manoj.
Okay. No. Okay. Just give me a second. Okay. Yes, Sandeep, you were saying something.
I said learning from the kids.
Learning from the kids. Okay, very good.
So one generation below, we need to learn from them more.
Yes, I cannot disagree with that.
And I think this is Sunanda here, and I just wanted to add also the ability to unlearn.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, I hope you are able to see my screen now.
Not yet.
Everybody?
No, it's a blank
It's
screen.
taking time.
Oh, it's taking time. Okay.
Okay, it's come.
It's come, right?
Okay.
Okay, everybody, can you be on mute, please, unless you're speaking in this conference? Yeah. Okay, so I think whatever most of you said and what I heard is valid. And the way I say is that the preliminary set of competencies that we need to develop are what I call as deep listening, sensing, and sense making. And I think most of you said some similar perspectives, maybe words were here and there, but I think the spirit was in the same direction. Now we want to look at this whole process of learning from this emerging future. And because one is to know the competencies, but like what is the real process? And this is what Otto Sharma shares, and we would like to share this with you. So he says that there are three phases. The first phase is observe, 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 which is you actually need to slow down and observe. Because if you are looking at from the past, you don't need to observe, you don't need to slow down, you know everything, you are just, you have the formulas, you know how to go it. You can go full speed. But when you are looking at the future as it is emerging, then the first phase is observe, observe, observe. And this is where our deep listening practices come into picture. And we're going to get into some of them today itself. And so that's the first phase, observe, 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 and the deep listening practices. The second phase is after you have been doing a lot of observation, the second phase is to retreat and reflect. So you have all the data all of the the observation that you do. Observation could be in terms of meeting people, seeing the situations, talking to a lot of stakeholders, and then you retreat and reflect with all that observation. And you got to then connect with the inner knowing and allow those sources of inspiration to show up. And then inside of that, there will be some ideas, some inspiration that will come up. And then what you do is, the third phase is then act in an instant. And that is where you focus what we call as learning by doing. We call it rapid prototyping. So then you're not sitting there and doing some long-term planning and projects and all that, but you're immediately testing out your hypothesis, doing small experiments and testing out the hypothesis. Okay. So this is the, what do you call it? A 50,000 feet view of the process of learning from the emerging future. Okay. And we will go deeper into it, but just to put it right now as a placeholder. This has 3 phases: observe, 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 which is the deep listening practices. Second is retreat and reflect, allow the inner knowing to emerge, right? And you connect to the sources of inspiration. And the third phase is then act in an instant, which is your prototyping, iterating, all of that, right? So having said that, then I'm going to stop the screen sharing here. Okay, so before I move to the second part, and did you, all of you get the 3 steps or 3 phases? Okay, somebody would like to repeat which is the first phase?
Observe.
Yeah.
Observe, deep listening practice.
Yes. And I think that's the most critical one, because if you don't get that one in, nothing else is happening, right? Because then everything else is from your past, is all the wisdom of the past that is shaping up, right? And somebody else tell me, what are the second phase?
Retrieve and reflect.
Retreat and reflect, thank you. It's allowing the inner knowing to emerge, connecting to the sources of inspiration. And the third phase?
Act in an instant.
Yeah, act in an instant. Rapid prototyping, test out your hypothesis. I also like to call it like small experimentations. So that's one point that I wanted to put in for our today's conversation. And I will open the space for all of you to share your points and questions and everything. But before that, I want to put in one more critical element. See, if you look at the leadership of the 20th century versus the 21st century, there are many differences, okay? And we can get into that. But one difference that I want to highlight, or at least that has been very evident for me, is till now, leadership was more of an individual phenomena. Oh, this person is a leader. Oh, he's a great leader. She is an effective leader. She is an extraordinary leader. It was always connected with individuals. Are you tracking me, everybody? What's emerging now is it's not about the individuals anymore. It's about the collective. It's about the team as a leader. It's about the organization as a leader. It's going about maybe the whole ecosystem as a leader. So a lot of things that we have learned are connected with individuals being leaders. And we are going to need to shift from that individual view of leadership, individual view of change management to the collective. Okay, so that's the second point that I wanted to bring in here. And now let me open the space for you to either ask a question or share what you see for yourself. And if you can keep your videos on, everybody, and unless you really don't want to, then it's fine. And maybe you can interact. Let's have some interaction. What do you hear in what I'm saying, or what questions you have, or if you have done our programs, what do you see for yourself, how that has been already showing up in your projects or in your work. Akshat, welcome. The Nigeria team is also here. Okay, so questions, comments.
Manoj, could you repeat the question that you are asking us?
I'm asking what do you see from those 2 points that I have said, or what questions you have or comments you have on that.
Okay.
And you could have said no
Manoj, Sanju here.
Yes, Sanju, good.
I know, very well articulated, observe, then retreat and reflect and act in instant. I was thinking, to make the, I know I have no right to change the process, but I was thinking, if we are going to test the hypothesis or do small experiments, why don't we directly get into the third stage itself?
Very good question. I think many people are already doing that, Sanju, I think. And that's the problem. Because, see, when we are doing it, if I'm doing something, if I want to change, and if I start doing some experimentation, where are all those thoughts and ideas going to come from? They're going to come from what I know from the past. You get that, Sanju?
Agree with you. I am hearing. Agree with you.
So I like, if I right now say, okay, I want to bring a change in my company or in the education system or in the healthcare, and okay, I have a lot of ideas. All of those ideas are from the past. So that's one challenge with it. Second challenge is, those are my ideas. So it's all about individual as a leader.
Correct.
So those two pitfalls kind of reduce the effectiveness of that process, right, drastically. And that is what actually been happening in many individual leader driven organizations, where the individual leader thinks, oh, this is the right idea, this is the north, let's run after this. And then after some time, oh, now this is the north and let's run after it. Right? Not necessarily the best way to go about it, right? So Sanju, thank you very much for asking the question. I hope you got some something for yourself out of that response.
Manoj, I have a question.
Very much.
Narayan.
Yes, sir.
So, when you say observe,
Yes.
I get that clearly. But then the next step is retreat and reflect. The moment you retreat and reflect, all your data points is from the experiences of the past. Other than that, from the future, you have no data point. So how do you then bring the two together where you are not using the past to reflect and retreat and reflect?
Okay, very good. I understand that question. So the way I see it is, see, all this observation that we do, right? And that's in the current moment. And then you're sitting with that. So the data that you're using is the data from the current observations, a current set of observations that you have been doing. Okay. And so it's in the present moment. So I don't mean like retreat and reflect, like, okay, for months you're going to retreat and reflect. Right? It's more of a mental space of retreating and reflecting on all the data that you're collecting as live than a big time gap between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking like a time gap between the two?
No, I'm saying subconsciously one would think that when you start reflecting, your experiences of the past and your entire life journey is what comes in terms of how the brain will analyze the data.
Okay.
So how do you suspend that judgment and just look at the data that is coming through observation without bringing any judgment from the past?
Thank you very much. You are actually leading me to the fourth point from here. So that one of the challenges that we will have to deal with in this observe itself, not only in the, so what you're saying is in the retreat and reflect, we'll have to watch out for our judgments coming in, right? Judgments from the past coming in.
Exactly.
You are 100% accurate. And there is one more challenge. Even in our observations, our past is going to come in.
Exactly.
And our judgments of the past are going to come in. So we'll have to be watchful and aware of that in both the phases, in both the observation phase as well as in the retreat and reflect phase. One thing that we have seen what makes a difference is the point number 2, which I said, which is instead of doing it as individuals, you do it as teams. Right? And that we have found it makes a much bigger difference than what people expect. Right? So it's who's doing the observation, not just the individuals, but it's the teams doing the observation, the collectives. Right? And then retreat and reflect is not also an individual phenomena. It's again a team phenomena. Right? Like the core team or the key stakeholders in a conversation. Right? They're getting together and doing that. And then the inspiration and the connection is also from what shows up for the whole team. So the next part of the challenge that we are addressing in the work that we do is really moving the needle from individual driven to the collective creativity.
But isn't that more complex, because then you are asking a group of people to suspend judgment?
Yes, it is more complex, but the challenges that we are dealing with in our organizations and society are also more complex. And you are part of a big organization, so there is nothing that I can point out. You know much more than us that the challenges are also much complex, and maybe if you bring in from just individual phenomena, you would actually end up causing more problems unless the whole collective is involved in it. And
Manoj, can I address something?
Go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, 2 points, Dr. Narayan. Mr. Narayan. The first one is you're absolutely right. So far, there's no future, right? We haven't looked for the future. When you go down to the bottom of the U, right there at the bottom of the U, one of the first things you will do is connect to your true self, your inner self. And we're talking about not just connecting as an individual, but if you're working as a group, then as a group, the group connects to their true self, collective self. And then in that experience of having gone through the eye of the needle, so to speak, connected to your inner self, you listen for what is the future that's wanting to emerge around you. That puts you in a space of listening to a future that's wanting to emerge. So that's one thing, and that'll happen after you complete that process at the bottom of the U. But also to address another point that Manoj has pointed to, which is that, and which you alluded to, which is that in the whole process of observation, the past is coming right in there. So Manoj will take you through some of the elements of going down the U on the left-hand side, where there are some techniques that you can use, some exercises that Otto has come up with, which we have used with people, that allow people to suspend their judgments. So it's called Open Your Mind. I'll leave that to you, Manoj, because I'm sure you wanted to do it yourself. Okay, opening your mind, opening your heart, that stuff. Is that, does that address something for you, Narayan?
Yeah, I think makes sense. Yes.
Great.
We'll listen to
Thank you
him.
very much. Okay,
Manoj,
one more
are
person
we
before we
here?
move
In
on.
fact, one more thing I wanted to say was that in the process of observe, you're actually listening for a new future to emerge and new data points would come, which are absolutely new. It's like something new that you're hearing in the observe. So when you're retreating and reflecting, you're actually retreating and reflecting on what? On all the new things that have emerged because you have done observe. Otherwise, there's no need for observation. It's pure, something happens, there's judgment. Immediately we make up our minds based on what has happened. The process of observe is to actually listen for something new, which we haven't heard before. And that's
Manoj,
where it comes in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so see, I have a simple question. That we're talking about observation.
Yes.
Don't you think we're observing the present? Why are we saying future? Because future hasn't happened.
Yes. So
Can we say observing everything around you, including the inner self, and that is happening in the moment at that time? So, because somebody said that future has not happened, so there is no data point even in reflection or in for observation. There is nothing there in future. So, can we say observation in the future? I mean, sorry, in the present.
okay, very valid question, Dr. Bhatt. I'm going to respond to that in a few minutes, but I think we had somebody else who was also trying to say something. Was it Avni?
Manoj, Avni here. Yeah.
Yeah, Avni, go ahead.
So, Manoj, I work as a valuer. Okay.
Right.
So, I work as a valuer and with insolvency board and things like that. And one of the real problems that we are facing is the world as we knew really does not exist anymore.
Yes.
And whatever reference points that we have, even from valuation, I'm sorry, I'm talking more from the profession point of view right now.
Sure.
But from valuation point of view, today, if I have to evaluate a land and building or a plant and machinery or whatever, so whatever formulae that we have, whatever tools that we had, they were designed in the past with the references of the past.
Yes.
And today, the way in which the information technology is moving, the information world and the speed and everything else, there's absolutely no connect to that one. And second, today when we are trying to run some simulations based on those tools to tell people as to, okay, how would your profit, how would your finances be based 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, how the loans can be structured, how the companies can be structured and restructured.
Yes.
And what I am realizing is the tools that we are using are all from the past.
Yes.
And even while evaluating it, I don't feel confident and right enough to pass the judgment because there really is nothing in front.
Yes.
And it might actually just bring the entire thing zoop kind of down, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when you, and that's why since when I'm looking at this, and I think when you asked what's coming up for you, so this is one big thing which is coming up for me. So this is more like a statement from me right now, or a question perhaps, where that's the kind of helplessness I'm experiencing right now.
I completely agree. I get that. And I'm sure many industries, many professionals are finding that all the foundation on which they were operating till now, that foundation is shaken or half of it is gone away, or like it's like you're in midair, right?
Absolutely. And once the restructuring begins, that's because we are expecting the restructuring of companies and loans and everything to start from around Diwali. And this is going to be a global phenomena. So Lehman Brothers was at least one country bloody. This is going to be like the entire globe together. And it's like, it's scary.
Yes.
Completely scary. Yeah. So that's where I am.
Completely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening.
Welcome. And many industries are in that kind of a limbo, right? And of course, some more than others. And yeah, so let me respond to Dr. Bhatt and then also connect to the next points that I wanted to highlight here. So one is while we are seeing the present, observing the present, and but we are also seeing, if you listen deeply and observe deeply, you also start seeing that, like as somebody said in the starting, like you start seeing the trends, you start seeing the directions. And when you start observing them, that's why I said the foundational competencies are three: deep listening, sensing, and sense making. And that's where you draw the bridge between the present and the future emerging. Okay, and we will go deeper into that and today. Okay, so Dr. Bhatt, I hope it gives you some place to hold on.
Yes, I think we can park it and
Yeah.
as it. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so everybody, one more question for all of us. What is the most important competency for a leader right now in this current situation? What is the most important competency? Okay, so either you can unmute and speak up, that would be great, or you can put it on the chat. Go ahead.
I would say effective communication.
Communication, effective communication. Okay, somebody else?
Accept and adapt.
Okay, accept and adapt. Okay. Empathy, speculate the future. Okay, somebody else?
Listening.
Okay, listening. Great.
Courage to show up.
Courage to show up. Okay, somebody else? Surprisingly, we are not hearing things like vision and strategy and all of that.
Learning new things.
Learning new things. Yeah.
Extend tolerance levels.
Action tolerance level. Very good. I like that.
Some rapid decision making.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. So again, I think most of what you said makes sense, but I'm going to go with that the most critical competency that all of us as leaders need to develop is listening. Okay, and deep listening. And one of the reasons why it is very critical to develop is because most of us have an illusion that we are good listeners. And that makes it more critical for us to develop that. And so let me take you through what Otto has shared about the world of listening. I'm going to go a little deep into that. Okay. So can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So consider that what we normally call as listening is what in this framework is at level 1. It's called listening from habits. We can also call it downloading, which is you're listening from your opinions and judgments. And what happens is after you listen from your opinion and judgment, you reconfirm your opinion and judgment. And this is where we live. This level 1, if you look at this as the world, this is where we live. We're always listening from our habits of judgment. Almost close to 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is where our house is, you can say. And every time we're listening, knowingly, unknowingly, mostly unknowingly, it's all going inside of our judgment and opinion. So all the time, even right now, as we are speaking, as we are having this conversation. So let me stop here. So we are living in the world of downloading. We are downloading, everybody else is downloading, and we are downloading about everybody else downloading also. We're living in the world of opinion and judgment, listening through opinion and judgment. How do we know that? It's like, if you are the same person after the meeting that you were before the meeting, then maybe you can consider that you might be downloading. So if you're having a meeting, if you're having a conversation with somebody, and at the end of it, you come back with the same opinions and judgments, and the same worldview, and same emotional state, maybe you were downloading. You were listening from your opinion and judgment. And this is nothing kind of derogatory about any individual. This is how we are as human beings, like our programming, our design. How many of you see that, yes, we're listening through our opinions and judgments? You could raise your hand. Okay. And then if you look at your organizations or groups of people that you work with, how many of you can see the whole, everybody's doing the same thing? Right? It's like all living inside of the opinions and judgments. So we're looking at listening to the future. Not possible. We can't listen to the future because we are listening to our opinion and judgment. Ferdy, you want to create the analogy of being in the room?
Oh, okay. All right. So then can you just imagine that you are in a circular room, okay? And it's got glass windows. All around there are windows. It's a circular room, glass windows, so you can look out, but there are screens on all the windows. So the whole thing's covered with screens, right? And right in the middle of the room, there is a 360-degree slide projector or video projector that can project videos onto these screens. Now don't worry about the technical aspects of it, just imagine that, okay?
Good that you pointed out, because we had some of our friends from IT.
Yes, exactly. And then, so now what's getting projected on the screens are what we call stuff that's downloaded by you. By download, we mean your judgments, your evaluations, your memory, stuff from the past is all downloaded in those videos. And they're now being projected on the screens all around you, and you're right in the middle. So you can consider that you are in the middle of a Google bubble, what they call a Google bubble, right? Where whatever you believe in is being reflected at you. Whatever you agree with is being reflected at you. Whatever you disagree with is nowhere to be seen. So that's the state. I think Manoj was out for a little bit, but that's the state you call downloading, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So where you're downloading, it's all memories and images from the past.
And the analysis from the past.
And the analysis from the past. Now, have you gone to level 2?
No, I just wanted to bring that right now.
Yeah.
And wanted to see if this is where we are, and this is where our colleagues are, and this is where the whole organization is, or this is where even our families are. But right now, let me say, this is where we and our colleagues are in our organization. How are we going to listen to the future emerging? There's no space, no chance. So what we like as a first step towards listening, towards training ourselves to listen to this emerging future that we're talking about, first step is to look at, right now we have no chance to do that. We are not programmed for that. We are programmed for listening to the audio video clips of the past all the time. And not only we, if it was only we, then it is okay. Somebody else, at least in our team, could have done it. But even they are programmed in the same way. So the whole organization is in the same trap. Okay, so let me pause and give you a chance to reflect and respond. What do you hear?
Or you can put it in the chat.
Omkar,
Yes.
at the moment,
Mm.
in this moment,
Mm.
what are we doing? We are listening to you
Right.
with the open mind. So nothing from
How
the
do we
past
know?
is,
How do we know that we are listening from the open mind?
in the sense, I am not bringing in my idea at the moment. I am accepting what you are saying as, as a new knowledge.
Mm.
So will you call this, what kind of a listening would you call this? Will it be when we say downloading, I mean, I want to understand it a little bit more.
Sure. Sure.
So downloading would be whatever we are wired and programmed in the past, and whenever you behave from those set of rules,
Mm.
that means you're listening to those programs and kind of doing whatever. But when we are trying to say listening to the future, and if I have to practice this now in
Mm.
this session, what is it that I need to do?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Right? I have no idea of what the future is going to look like. Okay. What I have learned in these 5 years is every time I am confident that I am listening, I should be careful about it.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Every time I am like sure that I am listening with an open mind, I should put a question mark around it.
Okay. Okay.
Because even that, I don't know, that evaluation of that open mind is also coming from someplace, right?
See, like
So,
we always have this kind of a discussion that
mm,
any computer will have to have some kind of a operating system, right?
sure,
To take commands to deliver something. So
yes,
we all have our own operating systems through our conditioning experiences, etc.
perfect.
Without that, how do I operate?
Yeah, you're right. That's what I'm saying. So that means what? That I'm always going to operate from my conditioning, including that conditioning which tells me that I should not operate from my conditioning. Even that is part of the conditioning.
Yes.
Okay, so don't worry. I get your line of thought, and I appreciate that. But you got that we are all stuck in downloading, right, Dr. Bhatt?
Can I add something, Sandeep, here? Oh,
Please,
sorry. No, please.
go ahead, Sandeep.
Using the same analogy which about the operating system or download, I see it in a different way that, when we continuously download, you're storing it somewhere, right? So if you
Yes.
take the same computer example, you have a fixed capacity, right?
Yeah.
And if you continuously download, you will reach a point where the whole thing is full, right? So
Yeah.
and then you're conditioned, or as you say, listening with filters or mindset or whatever. So when you reach that capacity, you need
I'm
to
just going
also
to change
delete
my
some files.
microphone.
You need to delete some files, delete some data to create space. So once you delete some files, delete some data, I think that's the time when we'll be open to take something new. That's how I see it. I don't know.
Okay.
This is another way to build on the analogy which was under
Very good.
discussion.
So good. So I'm going to get Ferdy to help us move to the second phase of it, right? So,
Yeah.
Ferdy, you want me to show the screen, or you want to just go ahead?
Well, we can start first, and then you can show the screen in a
Okay,
minute.
great.
Let me
Yes.
say something to address what Dr. Bhatt has said and also what was the
Sandeep.
follow-up. I think you can get stuck in an analogy.
Mm.
Analogies are not the same as the thing itself. So if you consider ourselves to be a computer, I think there is a limit beyond which that analogy will break down. So I recommend you don't go down that track.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
I
and here's
agree.
my recommendation. Consider what Manoj has said, which is that, and I think you agree with it, people agree with it, that we are basically, if we examine ourselves, we are in the midst of downloading. We are in the midst of judging, evaluating, and how we judge and how we evaluate is with reference to the past. It's also what Anvi was talking a few minutes ago about how are we going to do assessments. It'll all have to be done with reference to the past. And then the question that everybody's grappling with is, if we don't reference the past, then what are we going to reference? And we say reference the future. But then you say, but the future hasn't happened yet, which is true. So how do you do that, right? So it's, if you want to take another analogy, it will break down in a few minutes. This is like there's a train running on the tracks, and then there are no tracks, and you step out of the train and you're laying the tracks for the train to run. That's the future. You're laying the tracks for the train to run. But once again, as an analogy, at some point it'll break down. But I think what is really useful is to say, if I want to get past downloading, how do I do it? And we've had 5 years of experience working with people, so we've helped a lot of people get past their downloading. The way you do it is you first recognize, hey, I'm in the midst of downloading. This is all judgment and evaluation and stuff from the past. What will I have to do to get out of this? Well, what you got to do is you're in a room, in that circular room, and you're seeing nothing but your past projected on the walls. What you do is walk to the end of the room, draw the curtain aside a little bit, and look out. So now what you're seeing through your eyes is some reality different from the reality which is generated inside your downloading. And that's the open mind. How do you know you got to an open mind? Is you hear something that you hadn't heard before. And mostly what you hear is what you don't agree with. Because if we don't agree with something, we don't hear it. If you can suddenly get hit over the head like, I see, I didn't agree with this, but I can see there might be something here. That's an open mind. So to really respond to you, Dr. Bhatt, you're listening to us. Are you hearing anything new, or is it all the same?
Yes, yes, I'm listening to new things.
Yeah,
And when Manoj,
new things you're listening to, that's what the open mind is allowing you to see.
yes, yes.
And the
And I asked,
more you can inquire into new stuff,
yes.
And I think the most powerful place to inquire into that which you don't agree with, that which you don't believe in, that which you think is not true, as you start to engage with it in a spirit of curiosity, you might be able to see something you hadn't seen before.
Yes,
That is
and
the open mind.
yes, yes. And I got, of course, I asked this question simply because I want to learn new things. And that's why the question. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's a very valid question. A very, very valid question. Thank you for asking it. So Manoj, did you want me to take it to the next level, or you're going to do it?
No, no, we want to pause here with this conversation.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So
I just want to say one thing, Manoj, in this place.
Sure, Vivek. Go ahead, Vivek.
So one, you really got what Ferdy said just now, which is the understanding of that we need to open our mind and see something new. The next step is to actually practice it with real people in our life, because just the understanding of it is of no use, because it will not, if it's not practiced. So who are the people in my life who I am downloading about? Who am I already having opinions and judgments about? What are the actions they are doing? What are they not doing? What are my judgments about that? I've already got judgments about everyone in my life. So really now, Actually having a conversation and listening to those people with an open mind is really the challenge, because something new may emerge when you talk to them and listen to them. Yeah, Manoj.
You might get a new husband.
Vivek, not only judgments about others, we listen to ourselves also with this judgment.
Absolutely.
Our own judgments. Yeah, that is, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So just to kind of keep framing the conversation that we are engaging here. So first thing is what I pointed out, learning from the future versus learning from the past. And it takes a new set of competencies to develop, right? Which is what I said, deep listening, sensing, and sense making. The second point that I wanted to create as a framework here is moving from leadership as an individual phenomena to a collective phenomena. And if I were to highlight all the points, I would want to put more and more weightage on this one. Moving from the individual leadership as an individual phenomena to a collective phenomena. The third thing that we looked at is the key competency as leadership, and not just individually, again as collectively, is need to develop is listening. And the moment you start seeing, oh, listening as a collective competency of my organization or of my team, I think you will start seeing the game differently. Because when we're seeing listening as an individual phenomena and listening as a one-to-one phenomena, I think it looks very different. But when you look at listening as a team phenomena and the whole team mastering deep listening, not with each other, but with everybody, with the stakeholders, internal, external, right? People from different departments, people from different hierarchies, the customers and the vendors, and there's a whole different game that you're in front of. And then what we looked at is what stops us from listening is this whole world of downloading, the whole world of opinions and judgments that we listen from. Now, one of the ways, one of the ways it shows up is our decisions. The decisions that we make that are influenced by our downloading. So for example, one of the things that I saw for myself is there have been people who I knew from the past, and I had, of course, opinions and judgments about them. And then there were opportunities to collaborate with those people. And all that opinion and judgment came in. And with some people, I was like, oh, yes, because of this, we should collaborate. I like this person. And then because of this, oh, no, it's not going to work out. This person, I have to be very careful, right? And oh, no, this person is not really good enough. I don't think they're smart enough. And I don't think they can really contribute enough to be my partner. And it shows up everywhere. And when you suspend that, when you go beyond that and operate with what I am going to call as the fifth point here is curiosity. I think Ferdy also alluded to that, is the access to listening for the future that wants to emerge is developing curiosity. And it's not that you give up everything, but you all suspend it. It's not that you throw it away, but you suspend it and bring in some curiosity. Okay. And we're going to give you an exercise to look at right now instead of that. But before that, let me tell you a story. This is by MIT professor Peter Senge. And this is a real life story. Of course, though, we are not going to be able to say it exactly the way it happened, but it should get you the spirit of it. So long time back, couple of decades back, when Toyota Motors came in and destroyed the whole auto industry, US auto industry, right? and companies like Ford and General Motors were worried. At that time, Ford, some management team from the Ford got a chance to visit the Toyota plant. So they went and came back. And then Peter asked them, okay, what did you learn? What did you see? So this manager says, nothing. What? No, they didn't show us. It was like a staged trip. It wasn't the real deal. They didn't show us the real plant. I've been in this industry for 25 years. There's no way a plant can be so clean. There's no way a plant can have like no material lying around and all that. It's just not possible. I think they just kind of showed us a dummy thing. Now, what I'm pointing out here is the manager eyes saw the future, right? In a way, right? But his brain wasn't willing to see it. So his brain didn't allow him to see what his eyes actually saw. Okay. So, and it shows up for us also in many ways. So the next thing is to look at how do we build that curiosity? How do we suspend that voice of judgment, right? And build that curiosity. The good news is there is no how to do that. You just have to do it. There's no how to suspend your voice of judgment. No, you notice your voice of judgment, and in that moment, you are able to suspend that and then bring forth some curiosity. Okay, what's the new data here? What is the new perspective here? What is the new information here? What is it that I can see and learn from here? And that's taking me to the point that I want to highlight is we are not going to be able to listen to the future emerging if we are in the downloading world. And when I say we, not just individually, but collectively. So 2 access points that we want to create for you. First is we need to listen differently. Second is we need to listen to different people. Okay. So there are people in our lives that we don't really engage with. They're different than us, so we don't engage with them much. So somebody can tell me who are the people who are around us in our life. They are on the same planet, they're in the same vicinity, say around us, in the same organization also maybe. Who are the people around us that we don't engage with? Somebody?
There are janitors.
Janitors, okay.
Then, drivers.
Yeah.
People who are some kind of our subordinates, or
yes.
people who we are reporting to.
Right.
Like our seniors.
Yes.
The top band of any organization, even our elders. This is what I feel.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Somebody else? Who are the people around us, but we don't engage with them?
Animals.
people.
Manoj, Avni here.
Yeah, Avni.
So for me, I teach undergraduates in architecture schools and I take some workshops for them. And I never engage with their parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're around and you don't engage. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in the sense where for me, till you pointed it out right now, they did not even sort of exist for me.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Somebody else?
So Manoj, for me, people who have a different political viewpoint or a religious viewpoint, I wouldn't engage with them. I mean, I wouldn't even agree with whatever they're saying. So I'd rather not,
Not engage, right? Yeah. Okay, got that. Somebody else? Thank you.
People who we don't like to hear.
Give me some, I don't know the names, but like, can give me some groups, what kind of groups?
Donald Trump.
Sorry?
I said Donald Trump.
Ferdy is obsessed with Trump.
Okay, no, I'm just referring to some classes or some opinions. there are some sort of people who are usually direct and blunt, right?
Okay.
And yeah, which kinds of leaves you shifty or maybe uncomfortable.
Right.
So the tendency is to steer away from
Steer
them.
away from them. Yeah. Okay.
Tomorrow at 10:30.
One more person before we move on. Everybody, if you, can you go on mute, and then whenever you want to speak, unmute and then go back on mute so that we don't have some other background is coming in.
I think, Manoj, that is true for pretty much everything, right? We read what we think that we connect to. We watch what we feel we connect to. Let's take a simple example of there are a plethora of news channels, but you watch only the ones, you know, that you agree with, and the rest is, well, it is rubbish, but still.
Yes.
Yes. So, and somebody I think had talked about the fact that, you know, when we have a different political opinion, then we tend to not engage with anybody, or even when we engage with them, we do not really give them a fair hearing, I think.
Completely. And very good. Thank
you
very much.
Can I come in?
Yes, please.
Yeah, this is Ram Bhatt here. Just Ram. I think if the people we don't engage with, maybe there are two categories according to. One is those who we consciously don't engage with, which are all the different examples. But there are people whom we take for granted in all our lives.
Yes.
I mean, immediate people around, maybe whom I see every day.
Yeah.
And I don't engage with them meaningfully. Sometimes even my own family members, I already take for granted that they are like this.
Yes.
And then therefore, the engagement as such is superficial, not beyond. There is no deeper engagement in such a situation.
Completely.
So
completely.
These are things which, in my opinion, are there. The other part, of course, is consciously, I do not want to engage with something is different.
Yes. So I think very well said. And I think everybody got the point home. I just want to connect it to that. Consider that the people that we don't engage with has something to do with our downloading. Okay. And it may not be very obvious all the time, but maybe there is some, it is at play. Okay. And consider that if we are going to only listen to some people, and we are also going to look at how we listen, which is through our opinions and saying. So two things that we are pointing out here. If we are going to listen in the way we have been listening, we are not going to develop the competency to listen to the future. Secondly, if you're going to listen to the same people and not going to expand your horizon by connecting to different people, again, you're going to miss out developing the competency required for sensing the future. Okay, so 2 points I'm making here. One is we got to listen differently, and we got to listen to different people. Right? Listen differently, as Freddie pointed out, is we need to suspend our voice of judgment, and listen to the different people is people whom we are, for various reasons, knowingly and unknowingly, not connecting. And now that we have pointed out, I'm sure many more people you start seeing as people that you could connect to from different people who are different than us, people, whether they're different financially or they're different in the departments that they work in, or their backgrounds, or their caste, creed, community, gender, age, many differences. Okay. So I want to give you a couple of minutes to write down. If you had taken the printout of the worksheet that we send you along with the meeting invite, you can use that. And if you don't have, you can just take a paper and pen and make a list of people who you're not connecting to, but who are around you. Take a couple of minutes to actually write them down. Write down the names. We don't need the names. We are not going to ask you the names, but you should have the names with you. People who are,
you could also look at those people who you engage with only about certain things and don't engage with them about the certain things.
Freddie, you said something?
Yeah, Khalid had a question, I think.
Oh, okay.
Khalid, put your microphone on.
It's on.
Ah, go ahead.
Can't hear you. Your microphone seems to be off. If you remove your cable from your computer, maybe it will work.
Yeah.
Remove your cable from the computer. And then
remove your headphone from the computer.
Or the phone. He must be on a phone.
Yeah. Can you remove your earphone, Khalid?
From
No,
the
from
phone.
the computer.
From the device.
From the mobile
device.
or the computer.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now we can hear you.
Go ahead. And in the meanwhile, everybody else.
Okay, fine. I will
continue the list. Go ahead, Khalid.
No.
Yeah, go ahead, Khalid. Oh, you went on mute. Wait. One second.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Just,
yes.
Hi, Manoj. This is Khaled. Just I want to say is that the person around you, if you want to avoid and even they are with you, that is people who have a negative approach and with the negative energy. Mostly either it may be your employee, maybe your staff, colleague, anything. Those people you avoid to be, I think so.
Okay. And that negative would be also a form of a judgment, right?
I agreed, but as of now, it is a download.
Yes,
future,
very good.
For future, we have to think on that is the next step you are telling about.
Yes.
What we believe is, as of now, what we avoid people's with the negative approach. Either it's in any hierarchy or it is lower, staff or it is senior. Either you have to meet with them or not. But these things, I think, it's more important as of.
Okay, got that. Great. Thank you, Khalid.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had to right now catch myself that I wasn't listening to Khalid. And then I had to catch myself and then listen to him. And that's why I paused. I just processed what he really said. Did I miss out? Because in a moment I was like, oh, wanted to go ahead to something else and not noticing that I wasn't really listening. Well, I can reproduce the words he said, but I wasn't fully present in the second half of his conversation. So what I'm trying to also prove here, kind of create for us is a moment by moment awareness that we have to bring in. Right? And if we have, it's sorted out, my listening is sorted out, then we are in trouble. Right? It's a kind of brush your teeth kind of conversation. You have to do it ongoingly. Right? Okay, so
Ram has shared something on the chat.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody just, if you can write down people from your, let me take you through a couple of groups of people that you can look at, who you can add in your list. Okay. I hope everybody is making the list, because this is the gift that I wanted to give you in this session, is that list that you make. Okay. More important than everything else. So if you look at people in your family and people around you where you stay, it could be like somebody pointed out, your mates and drivers or security or shopkeepers or whatever. And of course, people in your family or neighbors. So look at that world and see if there are people that you could connect with. They haven't been connected for some time. And then look at your transit from, if you're, I know because of COVID, many of us are not traveling, but in case you're lucky and you're traveling, then you can look at your transit and you can look at people in the transit that you could engage with. And then look at your immediate teams that you work in. You could look at your cross department, cross hierarchies, right? So look at your seniors, 2-level seniors, 3-level seniors, or 2-level juniors, or people who are from this computing department, the department which always seems to create problems for your departments. Right? There are those naughty departments in our companies. You can look at some of them. And you can look at your customers. Some of those customers either you take for granted, or some customers who are a pain in the wrong place. Right? Like Ferdy pointed out, we also want to look at people whom we disagree with. Right? Your peer in the office who you disagree with, or who's always on the other side of the world. Right? Both of you never see eye to eye. Maybe some of those people. Okay. And then, of course, if you want to keep adding to that list, you can. There will be many more dimensions to add. So how many of you got, or why don't you put it on the chat, the number of people you got on your list? Just put the number. As I said, we're not going to ask you the names, but we would like to know if you're tracking the conversation. So if you can put it on the number, okay, great. Somebody's got 8, 20 plus, okay, 7, 23, 7, okay, good. Somebody else. Everybody, can you take a second and put your number there? 25, good. 20 plus, 9. Okay, Swati, I know you're guessing about 25, but I hope you made some list, okay, because otherwise it will disappear. Ha, Dharmesh got it, 35 plus, okay, great. Swati, thanks. Only 10 plus, okay, good, 24. Okay, so now that's one part of it, right? And making the list, and then looking at how are we going to listen differently? How are we going to bring in curiosity in our listening? And this is a very interesting conversation that we want to train you in. This is called connecting with no agenda. Okay. Mostly we connect with some agenda. Okay. This is about just connecting with no agenda whatsoever, except connecting. Okay. In the exercise, in the work that we do, Otto Scharmer calls this as an empathy walk. Okay. And I like that conversation. I like that name in some way, and I also don't like the name in some way, because it's not just about connecting to the person and from the perspective of empathy, but it is a little different perspective here. Consider that each one of us have a worldview. Like I have my worldview, and you have yours, and other people have their worldview. But somehow we are programmed to think that our worldview is the worldview. That's the world, how everybody is supposed to see. So we assume that everybody has the same worldview, which is not true. Different people, different groups of people have different worldview. So the point of this exercise is to connect with people and try to see life from their eyes. Try to see the world from their eyes. So that it's not that we agree or disagree, but when we do enough of that, not 1 or 2 or some X number, but when we do enough of that, we start expanding our horizon. And that is the critical component of being able to listen to the future emerging. Because it is not going to be visible for us if we're going to operate from the limited paradigm that we operate. Okay? So I'm going to call this exercise as connection. Right? It's a connect exercise. You can call it empathy walk. And here, Dharmesh, thank you for sharing that. And Dharmesh just shared that he's listening to this seminar. We don't like to call it a webinar. Again, the downloading about webinars that we have is webinars are more slides, and we want to have it interactive. So we get triggered, by the way, just to share how fast it works. We get triggered if somebody calls it a webinar. That is our the downloading. We want it to be called seminar. It's an interactive seminar. And just noticing how it runs all the time, right? Yeah, so where was I before I got sidetracked? Here is, somebody can help me?
You want to do the exercise on empathy, on connection.
Yeah, connection, right? Connecting with no agenda, just like that. And you'll be surprised that it's so easy, but some of us are programmed to make everything complicated. Right? So if it is easy, we feel uncomfortable. Oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. It can't be so easy. There has to be something tricky here, something complicated here. No, it's just simple, easy. Okay, good. Fadi, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Okay, good. I was thinking if you would like to do an empathy walk with somebody would like to.
With somebody?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do a demo then. Somebody who would like to do this with me, you know, I will interview you and you can look at how you can go about it. Anybody who wants to offer?
Yeah, I'm there for it. Dharmesh.
Dharmesh, how are you? It's good to see you.
Yeah, I'm brilliant.
Seeing you after a while.
Yeah.
So, Dharmesh, you know, what we're going to be doing is what is called an empathy walk. And my intention is just to get to know you better. I know you participated in the seminar, but I don't really know you. It's what Manoj said was, you know, some parts of people you don't know, though. You know, there are some aspects of them you don't really know, okay? So, Dharmesh, can you tell me, where do you live? Where do you live?
I live in Mumbai.
You're in Mumbai. There are people from all over the world here. So you're in Mumbai, right? And can I ask you, are you married?
Yes.
You have children?
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, how old are they?
Manav is 23 and Stuti is 17.
Okay, so Manav has left the house, or he's still with you?
Yeah, he's in US.
He's in the US, right? You must be a little worried about him right now, right?
No, not at all.
The way the COVID situation is being mismanaged over there, at least in my opinion. But so anyway, so you're in touch with him often on Skype or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And how long have you been married?
27 years.
27 years. Okay. And what are you guys making some plans for the next part of your life? Once the kids have left the house and you're by yourself and all that stuff. Have you thought about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll have a house near the Pauna Dam. Okay, which is very quite cool place. So and we will walk from there and come sometimes in Mumbai. That's what.
Okay, very good. And what do you do for a living?
I have my retail business and also real estate. So I take care of retail business.
You run a retail business. Okay.
Yes.
I got it. And are you experiencing any difficulties now with this COVID situation in terms of sales or anything?
Yes. And largely with the people, not with the business, but with the people.
You mean employees?
Yes.
Right. Care to tell me, share with us a little bit about what difficulties you're facing?
So it is my expectations that, I mean, we have them since last probably 25, 30 years. And when this is today, just compromise for 6 months or a year, then they are not really comfortable. And so today my outgo is 60% and my business is around 40%. So it's equations are not matching.
All right. So you're experiencing the kind of loss.
Yes.
Because of the situation. I got it. Just to change the subject, what are some of the things you're really interested in or committed to?
So I want to go take this business to go to IPO profitably. Okay.
Yes.
And then it's my dream to keep this business running by the people, not by the family, but by the people.
Right.
That's what professionally.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Very good. I think I'm going to stop here.
Great.
Right?
Okay.
So it gives a sense, I think, of what we're looking for. So
Thank you,
Manoj,
Ferdy.
you want to take it on from me?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ferdy, and thank you, Dharmesh.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Can we acknowledge Dharmesh, please? Dharmesh, thank you very much. Thank you. So the point I want to make here is it's not about what Ferdy said and didn't say, right, or asked. It's just a free-flowing conversation to connect. Okay. Now, if you were to talk to somebody, you could do it your way. There's no. So the good part of this exercise and the bad part of this exercise is there are no rules here. Okay. There is no structure. Oh, this is what you need to ask. This is not what you need to say. No, nothing. There's no structure on how much time you will invest, whether you will invest 15 minutes or half an hour or half a day. Doesn't matter. It's all it all depends on you. The whole point is to connect with people who are different than you, people who are from the different worlds. And the more and more people you connect and then really listen, you will gradually develop the competencies, right, to expand, right, and to listen beyond the downloading world. Okay, so this is an opportunity as you interact with more and more people to notice your downloading and put it aside, and notice your downloading and put it aside. I'm sure as Ferdy was talking, right, there will be moments where some opinions and judgments can come up for him. And if they come up, then he needs to notice them and put them aside and just connect, right? So it's a very simple exercise. And my invitation to you is don't make it complicated and try it. Okay. So what we're going to request you is in the next 7 days, okay, take a target. Just whatever works for you, right? Take a target of how many people you would connect in the next 7 days, okay? And put the target in the chat, okay? And we're not going to manage you. This is just for you. Have fun with it. Okay? How many people can you connect with and really listen deeply, right? With no agenda in the next 7 days. And whatever number works for you, works for us. There's no problem.
Manoj, Avni
Yes.
here.
Yeah, Avni.
Avni, I had a question where when we speak of deep listening,
yeah.
Now when I was thinking of my architecture students,
Yeah.
and when I say their parents are somebody whom I've never really heard.
Yeah.
So would even making a questionnaire and sharing it with them and listening to it also be a part of it or no?
No. This is direct human connect.
Got that.
And you might be surprised that you don't even listen to the students.
Oh, I'm sure now.
Except through the downloading, right?
Yeah, right.
I was just reflecting because I'm doing a lot of work with educational institutions. And what I reflected is almost like, I think I have never listened really to any teacher or professor. I have always been listening through the downloading. And that's why I almost don't have a great relationship with any of my teachers, like rarely. Like I can pick up on the, what do you call, fingers on my one hand, that teachers that I have had deep respect for. Because I think I just missed out listening to them. And I've been so busy complaining that they haven't been great. Right now on this call, actually, I just realized maybe I wasn't listening to them.
Got that.
Tomorrow I have a session with one of the institutions, and I was going to talk about something else, and I was going to take the whole conversation differently. And right now, as we were talking, I just maybe I wasn't listening to them. It's not only about them, right? So
quite the flip side of it. Yeah.
So this is the game to play, right? And discover new worlds and develop a certain space where we can connect with people. Okay, so great. I saw the numbers that people have shared. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for doing it. And then I want to take it to the last conversation here, and then before we move on, okay, to the, like, before we start closing. So this is the point number 8 here that I want to bring. It is not only we would need to listen differently and listen to different people, we also need to see different things. Going back to the Toyota example, I also want to look at, of course, I know that because of COVID, many of our traveling would be restricted, but for those who for whom it is possible, or whenever it is possible, I'm also inviting that we see different things and we see differently. And seeing differently, we have, I think, understood is the same thing, like we do suspend our judgment and really see, so that our mind doesn't blind our eyes. But more about where do you see? So, like, actually where work is happening, maybe, right? Like going to the field, going to where the actual work is happening, like actual interactions that are happening. For example, Dharmesh is in his retail and actually looking at the going through the phases where the customer is going through, and the interaction that the customer is having with the staff, or is using any part of his facilities, or looking at those moments where your customers are using your products or services, or those, looking at those moments for which your products or services are designed. Like, for example, if you're running an institute and looking at actually how is the whole teaching learning process happening on the court right now, and what is it for a student to do those assignments, or what is it for I think you get the drift here, right? So looking at actual scenarios where people are getting dealing with stuff, dealing with your work, your products, your services, or areas for which you're bringing up the solutions, right? So if you are a doctor, if you are a manufacturer, wherever you are, you need to figure out what are the places where you can see real life data. Okay, so give me some examples. What do you see for yourself in your industry? Sandeep, go ahead.
I missed the last couple of minutes. I was away, so I didn't get the question.
Okay.
So if
I
you
was
can
looking at what are the places that you can visit where you get to see the real situation, right? Like the real field, in terms of where your customers are using your products or services, or your people are, your employees are working, like getting the real field of the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best place for this is, I mean, if you take the first
in your
part, like,
industry, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you understand your customers much better when you see customers at their customer places. That's what has been.
What is your industry?
I mean, I'm into the sales consulting.
Okay, right. I understand now.
So what happens is, I mean, to answer your question,
yes.
If I have a client, right, who wants to improve his business, so it's
Right.
best to observe their salespeople and their products with their customers.
Okay.
And that's the
Very
place
good.
where, so just to answer your question on that, that's how I see it.
Okay, perfect. Somebody else, what do you see for your industry? Yes, Dr. Habib.
Yeah. Some word which I want to talk maybe out of context. Can I use the word also?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I find certain amount of interest word involved in that. The moment the interest comes, listening automatically comes to that of my interest you are talking means immediately my attention goes to you. Listening becomes automatic. And at the same time, my downloading also stops because you are talking something very which I am fully focused. And as I saw in the medical practice here, most of the consultants who are dealing with the patients, what I found was the best light doctor is the one who is listening most to the patient, especially to their problems.
Right.
So we find that we have to focus what is that interest in them and start listening to that interest. Then automatically your listening improves and downloading also stops. This
Right.
is one way of my observation. Maybe wrong also. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I get that. I was also looking at, like, for example, if you want to improve the patient satisfaction in your hospital, right? Or your you want to improve your doctor satisfaction in the hospital or anything, right? Where would you, if you want to bring changes in your hospital, what are the places where you can actually go and observe, like we said, observe, right? What are the places where you can go and observe?
Your link, you just mentioned the connectivity, the connectivity between the patients and the doctors.
Right. Okay. So, are you? One thing could be observing the interaction happening, actual interactions happening between the doctor and the patient. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, interaction and listening each other.
Yeah. So, no, but what, as the chairman of the hospital, doctor, if you were to observe,
yes,
right, what would you observe? One thing that I can hear in what you're saying is you would like to observe the patient-doctor interaction.
Yes.
Because that might give you some new insights.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Why
Okay.
this particular patient is so keen on the doctor? That is my observation. Few with some doctors, they're waiting outside, and there's nobody in other doctors.
Right.
There is some reason for that.
Right. Very good.
Because when patient feels, I'm fully contented of my need, which is desperately looking for by the doctor.
Yes.
That deep listening or helping hand or empathy or empathy walk, whatever it is there, the feel.
Well, yeah.
Comfortable.
There's, yeah, and good, great. Thank you very much. Somebody else, if you can unmute and speak up, or you want to write on the chat. For your industry, what are the places where you need to go to observe, really observe, right? One is, for most of us, the place is not going to be our office, okay? So those of us who have not been going out of office, even before COVID, right? So the bad news is we'll have to get out of office as soon as we can, okay? And now tell me, what are the places where you need to go to really observe? A couple of people, please.
Manoj, Avni here.
Yeah, Avni.
So if I take example of my students, then one of the people, based on what Sir just said, where what I need to observe is the students who have passed out perhaps, how they interact with the architects or with the actual homeowners who want to build homes.
Wow.
So how does that interaction happen?
Very good. That's an interesting place to observe.
Yeah.
Very
I just made, in fact, I could come up with a list of their customers whom they are interacting with. I loved what he just said.
Yes.
If you really want to understand your customer, you need to see how they deal with their customers. I loved it. Thank you so much for that, sir.
Great. Somebody else? Thank you, Avni. Somebody else? People who have not been speaking the whole session, okay? If you want to break your Maunrat, your silence, so this would be a good time to do that.
So, I'm Dharmesh. I think I need to speak to Eddie Narula. He's there on the webinar.
No.
Genius.
Yes. But I'm saying, Dharmesh, in your business, what are the places you need to go to observe?
So, okay, going to some other malls and competitions, that comes to my mind.
Okay. Okay. And in the mall, what specific?
What specific? Yeah, then I can go to Oberoi Mall or something like that.
No, I didn't mean the specific mall, but what, like you would observe what? You would observe some interactions, or you want to observe anything specific that you would like to look at?
No, then I believe then I have got my own downloading. Okay, I'll go with this same machine. And then, in fact, you have to give a cue. This is how you must. Okay, you should listen to. Okay. Otherwise, I'll go with. I have been, many times, and still I'll do the same way.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Maybe I would just since we are talking here. The thought that crossed my mind as you asked this question is that maybe it's not that you should go observing. Maybe you should go as a whole team.
Okay.
And then maybe see what the whole team observes.
All right. Okay. We'll do that.
Just a thought that crossed my mind. Okay.
Okay. All
Great.
right. Okay. Okay.
Okay. One more person.
Yeah, Manoj, it's me, Amitabh. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, sir.
Actually, I've been observing. I thought being on mute is better. So I'm advising some of the companies, and one company, some of our people are already on seminar and not a webinar. Right. So I would love to go to the places where these people live. So we have a team of 60, 70 people, and they are in our business of recruiting and business development and all. And I only see them in action while they're in office or through a video conference or whatever. So
Right.
to know them better, probably I should go and meet their families. That's where I can go and observe.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you very much. Okay.
Sanju here.
Yes, Sanju. And then I'll hand over to Ferdy.
So, so my visit would be to a place where some good practice is being observed. Any place, suppose we take an example of a mall. If I am running a mall and if I have to see another mall, I would go to a mall where a good practice is being observed or followed, so that I learn that and implement it in my system. So wherever good things happen, I go there. That's my thought.
Right. Okay. I hear you. And again, I didn't listen because once you said I'll go to these places, good places, I didn't like your answer. So I stopped listening. And then I had to catch myself that I was not listening and force myself to listen.
But I love your candidness.
So it is so tricky. Sanju, I got your acknowledgement. So by the way, this is the game, right? So all of us, it's not going to be like, oh, we have mastered listening. Okay, that's not happening. At least we have been in this game for 30 years. It hasn't happened. Ferdy has been in the game for 2 more decades. It hasn't happened. So, but what's possible, what I'm learning is the moment I catch that I'm not listening, in that moment, I have a chance that I might listen. Right? Okay, great. Everybody, thank you very much for this conversation here. And we want to take a couple of minutes to share a little bit about ourselves and wrap up the conversation. So let me ask Ferdy to start this, right? Ferdy, you're on mute. Or your sound is not.
Yeah, I'm on now. So the question really is, what did you want me to do with this, with the folk?
I was just looking at, you want to start, we got a 15 minutes to wrap up. So
Right.
you want to kind of introduce a little bit about ourselves to all the people who joined in late and talk a little bit about our workshops and consulting and all that.
Also,
And
I was
will jump in,
thinking,
yeah.
Manoj, if you allow me,
Sure.
I'd like to give some of our graduates a chance to share what they got out of
Over to you.
participating with us in with regard to what you said, right?
Yeah.
So if any of you have done the leadership from the emerging future and you'd like to share with people what you got with reference to the empathy walk, listening, levels of conversation, any of that, any of you would like to take a shot? Nobody? Well, it doesn't say very much
Akshat
about
is saying
our
something,
program.
but he's on mute.
Who is this?
Akshat.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Akshat, go for it. Akshat, go for it.
Okay. Furry, I think these as Manoj was rightly saying, it takes a lot of practice to be able to listen, observe, and just suspend the judgment. And through the workshop, I think the tools that were shared during the workshop when I attended leadership from the emerging future, some of the tools really helped me a lot. One of the tools that Manoj just mentioned is empathy walk. So I did not realize when they gave us the the assignment unless I actually did it a couple of times, and they told me to do it with anyone. There is no structure. There is nothing. So I discovered a lot of things from people. More than the discovery, they became, they became positive. They became very good rapport with those people. That was one benefit. So if I think as long as the workshop was going on, I was doing it regularly. After that, somewhere I think I've stopped this practice of doing empathy walk, but I need to again start doing it. I am just getting reminded of a beautiful tool, a very nice thing. And the second tool, which I've really, if I may mention it here,
sure,
which has been very powerfully very beneficial for me, has been something called as a stakeholder interview. And uh, why it has been very, very useful is because whenever I've done a stakeholder interview, it is for me to learn about the stakeholders. But what has happened also, not only that I've learned a lot of things, but I found that those stakeholders have become more fond of me after the interview has been done. So I've seen, yes, and it's been a great benefit to me that if I want to make a good relations, sweeten my relations with one of my stakeholder, all I have to do is to just ask them those stakeholder interview questions, sit with them for a while over a cup of coffee, and after that I find that they are, nice to me. So this is some of these two tools that I found that to be very useful, and I've been doing it. A stakeholder interview. Yeah.
Very good. Great. Thank you very much, Akshat. Somebody else? Anybody else?
Ravi?
Yes, please, Ravi.
So as Akshat was mentioning, the empathy walk and the stakeholder interviews actually allowed me to, first of all, look at my own self, the amount of downloading I do with respect to people and relations. And in the last 1 month that I have been in the course, and I have been doing multiple empathy walks and stakeholder interviews, and I hope, like Akshat, I continue to do it, or not like Akshat, continue to do it in the future. I'm certain that the kind of relationships, there's a whole alteration in the way I am relating to people. My own relationship to people is altering. And I can also experience how others are actually sharing some of whatever they normally would not share with me right now. So there's a closeness there. But what actually made a huge difference is the levels of listening. I'm a very pushy kind of a person, and I normally get my way, and I think I have delivered, because at the end of the day, the work done is done. But I realized that there's hardly any conversation where I am listening to another person's viewpoint. There's no debate happening. There is no new views coming into the whole thing. And that's what I have recently started to take on, and I have finished just 2 conversations with people, and it's been pretty interesting. It's emerging pretty well, especially in the committee and all that where I sit. It helps a lot, especially the listening part. So that's what I want to share.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One more person before I...
Dr. Habib wanted to share.
Dr. Habib, go for it.
The things which really impressed me most is you got us involved as a part of brainstorming. We are not part of people who have come to listen to learn, but as I was listening, or you are also a part of you brainstorming, and you don't have any reservation of your own. Open discussion. And the best thing which I learned was, because when Ferdy said I'll stop my ego, I am not trying to find out where is his ego. So I will not have my ego, I'll give it up that ego. I am yet to find that ego is not there at all. which is this ego is talking about. And another thing, the free talk among all the three of you and getting as a part of you in your discussion is no ego. Otherwise, you won't be a part of that lively discussion there. And the most thing, frankness of your approach, especially Vivek and the other day when he was talking, my living is by coaching, and now this thing has impressed me very much, very deeply. He is frankly admitting what is this means of livelihood openly with all of us there. And I mean, this all impressed me more than what I thought presumed to be a better thing, which in my earlier thing, which I cannot comment. Not your own organization, which I was a part of it, but a lot of differences there.
Very good. Well, we are happy that we managed to do that. It's really a great acknowledgement for us. Thank you. And Wayne, yes, Wayne, you're next.
So I'm so present to my judgment, like while listening to Dr. Habib. Like I'm thinking, if my sharing will give value to this, again, intelligent people, right? So, and then I felt myself palpitating, and it's just really like my palms are so cold, and I realized, okay, you let go of your judgment and trust, as sensing that what you have to share will give value to the participant. So, as Ferdy was saying, I have a share last Monday, an actual happening with my boss, like at work. I was talking to my manager, and then in the middle of the conversation, I was experiencing that she was upset. And my automatic when she's upset is for me to shut down and to just allow her, just, for both our peace of mind. But then I realized, what is my intention in the relationship? And that's to be authentic to myself and to deepen the conversation and my relationship to her. So even though she's upset, I spoke my mind. And at the end, like, she was so forceful, like, boss and subordinate, right? Like, the boss will not allow me to win. But, but I was so okay because I'm so clear with my intention. At the end, I told her, okay, let's agree to disagree. And since you're my boss, then whatever it is that you want, that, I'll follow it, right? And then after the conversation, after an hour, she got back to me. And then she apologized and said, I realized that I was upset before I spoke to you. And when I spoke to you, I was already upset. And then I told her, I allowed her to speak for 5 minutes. And then I told her, you know what? Our conversation a few minutes ago made me smile to myself. And she said, why? Because I'm committed to deepen our relationship than to have a nice conversation. And then I told her, before I used to shut down, I used to shut up and think of another way on how I can express my opinion without going through your emotions, right, of being upset. And then she was so happy. She acknowledged me, and then she said, I like that. Like, I really like that you stood your ground. Thank you very much. So it was a gold last Monday, and I'm so present to choosing my intention versus being nice in the conversation.
Very good, Wang.
Well
done, well
Thank
done.
you.
Well,
excellent.
Great, excellent. And now I have to answer Manoj's request, which is share, but that was brilliant, the three of you sharing. I wanted all of you who haven't done the program to get a sense of what people who do the program get and how it sits for them. Because we are just giving you a small taste of it. We haven't given you the whole thing. Obviously, we can't in a 2-hour session, but you get some sense of what people get out of it. Now, what about us? We are three of us, and then now we're slowly building like a snowball. We're building number of people who are going to join us. And we've been doing this program for the online seminar for the last 4 years, and we are currently finishing the 14th cohort. And we are starting the 15th one in September. And what I wanted to say was that we were really focused on, we all got touched by Otto Sharma. And what he talks about is the transformation of business, society, and self, all three. And we wanted to work on all of it, not just personal transformation, but transformation of businesses, transformation of society, as well as personal transformation. So what we are doing is we formed a group called Global Transformation Consulting. which offers this technology to organizations, to corporate areas, right? It offers it there. And inside that, we are forming another subset called Global Transformation Champions. Now, Global Transformation Champions is an Aam Aadmi program. Manoj doesn't like the word, but Aam Aadmi. That is, we want this thing to be available to ordinary people in their language in a way that they can understand it and at a price at which they can actually consume it. So we are starting this whole new arena. We are starting a new company, Section 8, is it? Section 8 company,
Yes.
where the profits don't go out to the shareholders, it goes back into the business. And we are starting our first program on the
5th and 6th of September.
5th and 6th of September. There'll be 2 whole days, 6-7 hours a day. And we thought we'll have it over the weekends, and the prices in Indian rupees, a little more than 10,000 rupees, is it, Manoj?
It's 9,000 plus tax. 9,000 plus tax.
9,000 plus tax, right? So it's a little bit more than 10,000. We thought that'll be more affordable. Our normal programs cost 500 pounds, which is about
50,000 with tax. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just wanted to let you know that these 2 things are available. One is a 2-day program, which will, right now, this one we are having at a very low price, and mostly we're going to do it in English, Hindi English mixture. But we'll also offer these 2-day programs under Global Transformation Consulting, which will be for companies, and we could do it in-house. We can do it. You send your people to the sessions and spend 2 days with us like that. Or you can have a seminar in your organization over 10 weeks or 6 weeks or something that allows you to engage in this material. So we just wanted to let you know. Is there something I missed out, Manoj?
No, I think that's good enough, and that they can reach out to us.
Yes, and reach out to
for further
us.
discussions.
Yeah. We'd love to have conversations with you. And if you are, I think, Kelly, which part of the world are you in? Kelly and Kovesex. I'm sorry, I've messed your name up. Kovek says, right? Which part of the world are you in?
I am in the United States.
All right, Kelly. Good.
Good morning.
And
Good morning.
where in the United States are you at the moment?
I'm in Ohio in a town called New Franklin, which is 45 minutes from Cleveland.
So you're on the East Coast. So what time is it where you are?
It's 8:30.
Sorry?
It's 8:30 in the morning.
Ah,
8:30. Oh, wow.
Well,
Yes.
fairly decent at least, right? Not
I was
4:30.
with you on a Saturday and remembered to log in on time to start, but you start my time pretty early.
Yes, I know.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being on. I hope it was worth your while.
Thank you. It is.
Yeah, and Covexis. Where are you from? Covexis? Have I said that wrong? Balaz. No,
I'm
I
from
think
Hungary.
Philippines.
Hungary.
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 All right.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you for being on. Appreciate having you on. You know, we'd love to have you
Thank you.
participate if you can. And I think there was somebody else I wanted to say hi to. Yeah, Miss iPad, where are you from? Your name's not there, just say iPad.
Hi, I'm Nentara. I'm logging in from Delhi.
From Delhi, okay, great.
And we have Zoika.
Zaika from, Zaika is from Brazil, right?
Yes.
Oh,
Great. Zaika, thank you for being on. I hope it was worth it for you guys to be on. It's lovely to have you all on.
Brazil also must be early morning now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now 9:30 a.m.
So you started at 6. You started at 7:30.
7:30. Yeah.
7:30.
Wow.
All right. Okay. I think I just want to thank all of you for being on. Really appreciate it. It's also
Thank
an
you very much.
opportunity for us to show off India, you know, super intelligent Indian people. As the people from Thailand are saying, oh, these people are all very
Philippines.
intelligent.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for being in this conversation. Deeply appreciate this opportunity, and feel free to be in touch to